Okay, welcome back. Well, let's do a little recap what we've covered today. We talked about that the government needs your money, about the ship hitting the fan. And then we also talked about having a plan for the second half of the game using the three biggest benefits in the tax code: the exemption for life insurance, the estate exemption, and the stretch IRA, that great parlay of wealth. Now we have to put it all together in a plan. You first have to take control of your money. And that's a big problem for a lot of people. What I'm talking about is people who are retired. Maybe you had money in a 401k and now you left your company, but you leave the money in the 401k. That's not taking control of your money. That's leaving your money in the old house. They're not going to watch it. You know, sometimes people come up to me at programs like this and they say, I have $850,000 in my 401k. It's all the money I'll ever have because I'm retiring. There won't be any more. So I better watch that money. And I say, yeah, you better watch that money. You have one chance to get this right. This is your life savings. It's the single biggest chunk of money you'll ever handle at one time for many of you. You have one chance to get this right and move it correctly. It's like an eggshell. It breaks, it's over. You may want to talk to an advisor at this point that has specialized knowledge in getting this money either to an IRA or looking at some other tax advantages. It's generally best to take control of your money. You don't have the investment choices in a 401k. You have the universe of investment options to work with in your own IRA. For example, one that I want to talk about is annuities. Now, as I said before, in case you missed it, I don't sell annuities, I don't sell stocks, bonds, funds, I'm just a tax advisor. But this is your retirement money, and it has to last as long as you do. See, today, most people are not worried about dying anymore. They're worried about living too long and running out of money. Do you know that last year, the greeting card company, Hallmark, sold 85,000 100-year-old birthday cards? Do you have enough money to live that long? You don't want to run out of money, because what will you do if that happens? Here's a piece I saw a few years ago in this Kiplinger's magazine. I call it the centerfold for seniors. It's not that kind of centerfold. It's the magic words that people want to hear. Income forever. Those are the magic words. Even after all of this, most people, I wouldn't say they're happy with the government plan. They just may not realize there's another option, and they get the government plan. I don't want that to happen to you. That's why we're going to make sure that you implement a plan. How am I going to do that? Well, I started doing seminars like this, estate planning seminars, years ago, 25 years ago, 20 years ago, to build my own practice. And I used to do seminars, and when I did the seminars with people just like you, interested in conserving their money, keeping it from the government, I felt I made such a compelling case that I believe that when I finished the seminar, everybody in that room would follow me back to my office to make an appointment that night. Do you think that happened? No. Never! And I couldn't understand it. I think this is pretty important. So I found out what's keeping people from creating a plan. Because who wouldn't want what we're talking about for you and your family? I found out that when it comes down to it, everybody's got an excuse. So we're going to get them all off the table right now. Number one excuse, if I do an estate plan, I will die. Well, you got me there. What am I going to say to that one? It's true. But what's also true, if you don't do an estate plan or you don't have an exit strategy, you will also die with a big fat mess and your family will hate you. I thought I had what I call a killer close. You know what I mean by a killer close? The last line of the program, to get them to take action. And I used to end every seminar like this: do it for your kids. Well, I found the more I brought up the kids, the less likely anybody was to do anything. And I didn't know what I was doing wrong. And this went on for years, until years later, an attorney friend of mine, I was talking to him about this, and I said, you know, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. He says, well, what do you say at the end of the seminar? And I proudly say, do it for your kids. And he said, never say that. I said, why? He said, because people hate their kids. And it hit me, the guy was right. Every time I brought up estate planning, it all came out. He forgot my birthday in 1962. It all comes out. All of a sudden, she has a memory. The Marquis de Legre, one of the famous wills of all time, had a provision in his will that said, to my son, I leave the pleasure of earning a living. For 20 years, he thought the pleasure was mine. So see, obviously you all agree with him, so I know how you think. So I'm going to give you the secret to getting this done. Never say do it for the kids. The secret, do it for the grandchildren. Look at you, you see? It's a mush word. You say grandchildren, where do I sign? Even my meanest client says, of course I want to do it for the grandchildren. I'm not an animal. If you think about it, why do the grandchildren and the grandparents get along so well? They have a common enemy. The grandchildren are the bonus that you get for not killing your kids. So I know how you think. I hear this a lot. I don't want to do estate planning because after I'm dead, the kids won't visit me anyway. Where? In the cemetery? How would you know? But if that's keeping you from doing planning, I've got something for you. You want to make sure you get visited? In the headstone, we install an ATM machine. Guaranteed 5-10 visits a day. The place will be mobbed. You know, when I was a kid, if I didn't do something right away, my mother had this saying, what are you waiting for, a special occasion? You ever hear that one? Well, I'm saying the same thing to you. What are you waiting for? A special occasion? You ever go to a funeral? See the dead guy. What do they say about him? That's right. He looks good. If you notice, he's always the best-looking guy in the place. Why? Because somebody finally went back to his closet, got out his good suit, because now it's a special occasion. You get it? That's too late. So how do you begin this? Well, if you look at the financial shows on TV or read some of the financial magazines or papers, they say, well, if you have some money, maybe start gifting. You know, you can make those gifts of $12,000 a year to kids and grandkids. That sounds great, but don't bother with that. You know why? Because I found in my experience, most people are not going to write the checks anyway. And do you think the grandkids will ever know you gave them $12,000? What the heck does that mean to them? Here's the way to start planning. And the clients of mine that have done this, and got into it, it changed their lives. Don't give anybody any money. Give them your time. You worked for this money your whole life. It's okay to enjoy it. Enjoy it with the people who are going to get it anyway. They're going to get it anyway. Wouldn't you love to be there with them, to enjoy it with them? Take the kids on a cruise or go to Disney World. And when you go, take a video camera and a still camera. And the clients of mine that did this, they come back to the office with the grandkids. It's the greatest feeling. They say, oh, here's a picture of me and Mickey and Minnie and Grandma and Grandpa. Those pictures will outlive you by 100 years. And you feel great because you see what your life's work has created. You see the enjoyment. These kids are going to get the money anyway. Wouldn't you love to be there with them to see them enjoy it? Isn't it better to give with warm hands than cold hands? That's where it really begins, because you feel so good about yourself. You say, I want to open a college fund. I want to go on another trip. I want to enjoy my money. There's a lot to this. I know in my own situation, 5 years ago, my dad passed away. And I was the only one in the hospital with him when the doctor came in and said, you have 2 to 3 months to live. Well, the doctors were off by 2 to 3 months. He died 6 days later. But his first words upon hearing the news were, I've got no complaints. And you know why he said that? Because 5 years earlier, I had this talk with him. I told him to enjoy his money. He said, I always wanted to join a golf club. I said, Dad,